Hey everybody, Miranda here. So today I wanted to talk about the topic of abortion. And I know that this is a very controversial topic, a very hot topic, and a lot of different opinions swirling around, especially in Christian circles, on what we should stand for and what we should believe. And so I hope this video is educational. Right off the bat, I just want to say there's no condemnation for those that are in Christ Jesus. And if this is something that has ever happened to you or a choice that you have made in the past, God is faithful and just to forgive us if we ask for forgiveness. So there's no judgment, there's no condemnation. I understand that, people who have made that decision, weren't given good information. Some people thought it was, healthy for the baby or healthy for the woman. There's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of bad advice. And so when someone's in a vulnerable, scared, state, things can happen. And so, this video is by no means meant to condemn you at all. But this video is just educational for people in Christian circles, people who say that they are for equality. They're for, bridging the gap between men and women and races and, progressive and, again, equality for humanity and, all of these different kinds of labels and topics and things that are going on. What is abortion? What is it really? And so I'm going to explain that abortion is a technology that was introduced to mankind by the fallen angels, by Satan and his fallen angels. And so first and foremost, I want the Bible to be our foundation. So, I can give you the obvious scriptures. There are many in the Bible that support, why we shouldn't take life and how that choice isn't a choice that any of us should have. And you're not less of a woman. You aren't, being controlled and manipulated just because you can't make this choice. Nobody should have the choice on whether or not someone should live or die. We have the obvious scriptures, like when I knitted you together in your womb, or before I even put you in your mother's womb, there was a book written about you in heaven. And that all life comes from God. God is the Lord of all spirits. So, all those verses, just those three, talk about how you were pre-existent. You were existed in the spiritual realm before you even got to this physical realm. So while we debate on the news and in different talk shows and circles on the quality of life and when life starts, it doesn't really matter because it actually started in the spiritual before it even manifested in this physical realm. So, before we start making these judgments, life began way before that life was even in someone's womb. So that's number one. Number two, if you've seen my videos, my goal is to expose darkness and expose the schemes and the plots and plans of the enemy. And my videos have looked at the prophecy that God told to Satan when Adam and Eve sinned in the garden about his seed going after the seed of men, and how Satan's offspring perverted and polluted the world, which brought the flood, and then how that resurrected afterwards, and how his seed has tried to infiltrate the DNA of people, animals, try to stop Jesus from coming. And we looked at that from the Old Testament to the New Testament, and now we're layering that on top of our modern world today and what that looks like today and how it's still going on today by the same methods. Nothing has changed. The plans of the enemy has not changed. So we're going through that to spot these things that are prevalent in our society that happen from the beginning of time. So in the book of Enoch, in the 69th chapter, it lists several names of different fallen angels who fell, left their abode, and one of them, they each had a different job of teaching different things to humanity. And this one I'm going to read to you is verse 12, and it says, "And the fifth," meaning the fifth fallen angel, was Casdea. "This is he who showed the children of men all the wicked smitings of spirits and demons, and the smiting of the embryo in the womb, that it may pass away." And it goes on to say a little bit more of that, but that simple verse shows that this is ancient technology that was introduced to mankind to provoke the Lord, to mix DNA, to stop spirits from coming forth on the earth, And so what we're dealing with isn't just some opinion. It isn't just some right. It isn't, it's a spiritual matter, and it's a technology that was introduced from the beginning of time. And so our stance on it should not change just because of the culture and the time that we live in today. And then my third point that I wanted to make is the history of Planned Parenthood and abortion, and how whenever it's been used throughout history, it does not have a empowering motive. It is not empowering to women. It is not empowering to different races. It's not empowering to anybody. And how this again, ancient technology introduced by the fallen angels have been used by dictators, communists, socialists, and people in the past. And so we need to know, the roots of this, which we just saw, and then what it's been used in history. So I wanted to read to you a few excerpts from a book called Planned Parenthood's Inhumane Butchery, by a book called Not Equal, written by author Ryan Scott Bomberger. Planned Parenthood's founder was a woman named Margaret Sanger, who was not only a member of the American Eugenics Society, but she was also the public cheerleader for that society. And she advocated for forcibly sterilizing humans long before Hitler implemented that kind of technology against his own people. You can read Margaret Sanger's 1922 book called The Pivot of Civilization. Sanger didn't merely hang out in racist eugenic circles. She was one of the ringleaders. She wanted even more leadership amongst her fellow eugenicists, and Sanger led the failed effort to join the American Birth Control League, which is now Planned Parenthood. So note that Planned Parenthood came from the American Birth Control League, just changed its name throughout history. But that was the original name, and it was created by Margaret Sanger, who was a racist and a eugenicist. So she wanted to combine a journal between her American Birth Control League and the American Eugenics Society. She couldn't get that partnership going, but she met with the secretary of the organization, Leon Whitney, and other members of both organizations to discuss forging ahead together. And Leon Whitney was later praised by Hitler for following his 1934 manifesto, which demanded forced sterilizations, titled The Case for Sterilization. In 1935, Ellsworth Huntington, the American Eugenics Society board president, wrote a manifesto on behalf of the organization called Tomorrow's Children, The Goal of Eugenics. In it, he called eugenics race hygiene and racial preventative medicine, and comparing the elimination of cancer in the body to the eugenic efforts to eliminate defectives that create new cancers in the body. It would by no means be a misnomer to call the American Eugenics Society the Society for the Control of Social Cancer. Hitler found inspiration in American eugenicists and a deeply anti-human theory that he would zealously implement through the work of Eugene Fisher, the director of Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Anthropology, Medical Genetics, and Eugenics in Germany, funded by the Rockefeller Foundation, who also funded Sanger's work. So that would be an interesting rabbit hole to go down. Fisher further developed the racial hygiene theory that was the bedrock of the international eugenics movement. He was deeply involved in the German-led Holocaust that happened 30 years prior to the world, which the world knows. In addition, Sanger included this vile eugenicist as a part of the General Council for her International Birth Control Conference. And in 1936, Fisher published Human Theory and Racial Hygiene, which was firmly embraced and horrifically executed by Hitler's Nazi regime. So all of the Nazi and American eugenicist connections are unending. There are too many layers to peel back. Yet here we are in 2022, where mainstream media and their pro-abortion allies pretend that none of this exists. So these are just a couple excerpts of different historical accounts on American eugenists and Nazi eugenists, and what their goal was for society, using abortion, using birth control, using sterilization, using these kinds of techniques. So just in this short video alone, I don't think that it's something that as Christians should advocate for. We can discuss helping people. We can discuss helping people in a dire situation, in a scared, vulnerable situation, but we should never feel like we need to advocate for this choice, since it's been used as for racism, for eugenicists, and because it was taught and originated and founded by Satan and his fallen angels. I feel that us in Christian circles, it should be a no-brainer for us, something we do not advocate for. But at the same time, offering, advice and helping people, not being, and still being sensitive to people's, needs in this situation, but offering, hey, there's other avenues out there for help. There are other ways to go through this situation. And we as a church can support women and support people who are in this vulnerable situation, instead of advocating for this satanic and blatant wrong avenue for these kinds of situations. So hope you guys enjoyed, and hope this was educational. And again, no condemnation for those that are in Christ Jesus.